When you're climbing Mount Everest, you do not climb the whole time. No, you do not. You do not climb the whole time. And you have like oxygen masks sometimes. You are bundled up and, whatever you are, like you're not just a regular person going and climbing Mount Everest. I hope you know that. When I'm home, I am seeing a lot of different people who have very different timelines than me, people who have very different milestones than me, very different lifestyles than me, and it just causes reflection, and I was also at a wedding, and weddings cause reflection. November 23rd is Miley Cyrus's birthday, and she just turned 33, which is my exact same age, okay? Year-over-year growth is good, obviously, but like it doesn't necessarily mean that everything has to be like that, and patience is something that I'm finally learning in my life. This is what I've identified as something that can be a lot more sustainable throughout the year. I pretty much have full faith that in 3 years, the photo booth will be something that will give me like quite a bit of income, but I've realized it doesn't need to be something that I do full time, if that makes sense. Hello, everybody. My name is Ben Hawes. I am your host, and this is Life in Bold. I'm so excited for this episode because I have been really wanting to bring back Life in Bold, and really this whole year I haven't done a ton of this podcast, but it's been really nice to come to as a form of media, as a form of content when I'm ready to do so. And I think in 2026, that's kind of going to be the way it's going to be. I remember in the early parts of this year, 2025, I was like, I'm going to have seasons and I'm going to do this, and it's going to be so much easier to run the podcast. And it wasn't. It never was. It's very difficult to run a podcast. And I know I say that oftentimes when I come back after a break, but I think it's important that I communicate that the reason is not because not because I don't like the podcast or because I don't find value in talking to you on the podcast. I'm just a one-person team. And that's really the thing that I want to talk about today is what it takes to be like a one-person team, a one-person performance team, a one-person business, a one-person content creator. And really like this idea that I was talking to Helen Polisi about, who is an amazing content creator. She has, I think, 1.2 million followers on TikTok. She has 2 podcasts. She works with her daughter on a lot of her content, Julie Polisi, and she is just a total whirlwind of a person. She also creates commercials. She has been creating commercials, I think, since like the 90s. And she is someone who has been able to really learn about marketing as it relates to content creation. And so she's just someone that like I really respect, really admire, and really find a lot of value in my friendship with her. She's been on this podcast 2 times. I'm sure you've seen her if you've been a loyal visitor of the podcast. But the one thing that I was talking to her about is how much I love her podcast. Specifically her podcast with her daughter, Julie, is really fantastic. There's a few things that I like about it from a production perspective, which makes sense because she is a producer. The first thing is obviously the audio, the video is all very good, but it's also shorter than a lot of podcasts that I listen to. Things like Amy Poehler's podcast, people like, other podcasts that I listen to. This podcast is a lot shorter, and I've been really thinking about testing shorter podcasts because, at the end of the day, not everybody needs to listen to me for an hour a week in the podcast form. You're already listening to me, of course, in so many other platforms, so many other Instagram and TikTok and YouTube and everywhere that I am. And, I realized that sometimes you can get the message out by just getting the message out, and it doesn't have to be fleshed out into an hour or 2 hours or whatever. Sometimes it can be, but it doesn't always have to be. And so I've been really thinking about these kinds of episodes where I'm getting on, talking to you about me, about my brand, about my comedy, about my social media, about everything that I'm building, because I think it's a really special place, Life in Bold, to talk about how I am going after my life in bold. And so what I want to talk about today is something that came up in my life coaching session this week on Monday. Actually, the life coaching session was on Tuesday. Was it on Wednesday? Vote in the comments. Was it on Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday? I think it was on Wednesday, actually, because this past week was a huge week in my life as I was building, as I was growing, as I was climbing to the top of this mountain that I call my journey. And I just very much want to talk about everything that happened this past week because it was a lot. So I'm applying for a job. Whoa, Ben Hawes applying for a job? He said he'd never do it. Well, I found something that was really quite perfect for me, for my schedule, for my interests, for my passions. And I've done 3 interviews for this job, I think out of 4 rounds. This week coming up is going to be Thanksgiving, so I'm not really sure what'll happen. I don't know if they'll tell me if I'm getting the job or if they are going to interview me one more time or if they're going to just say, let's wait till after the holiday because it is Thanksgiving. I would totally understand. But I'm really excited about it. And the job, and I'm just gonna lay it out on the table that I am excited about it. And regardless of how it goes, I want to log how excited I am in the moment because this job is office and events coordinator. It's really good pay. It's really good hours for like what I'm looking for in terms of balance for my life and my businesses. I would be working on Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday from 9 to 5. So that's like 24 hours a week. And I really am like cool with like the people so far that I've interviewed with. And like, it's also 5 minutes away from my apartment, this office. And I would be in charge of like everyday office operations, helping order lunch, get the snacks, get all of that fun stuff. But I would also be planning small and big events, things like offsites, things like happy hours, things like that. That is my professional bread and butter. I love to help people have fun at work. I love to help people perform better at work via having a great workplace. And so I'm really excited about this job. It's a company that my best friend works at, and she found the job. She found the job listing for me and referred me and has been giving me a lot of good, insights and advice on how to interview and things like that. And so I'm really excited about this job. And the thing is, that this past year, and really the past year before that, and the past year before that, have been so rewarding and they've been so challenging. They've been so, so, so challenging that I'm almost ready for a little bit of a more security. Okay. And that's what we're going to talk about today is kind of this difference between like success and security. Because I really find that I want to be a very successful person. But I have to define what that is. And I also want to have security. I also want to be someone who can pay my bills. Sue me, lock me up. I want to pay my bills because I just want to be able to handle what comes my way when it comes to money. And the thing is right now, as it stands, every dollar that I make, every dollar that I spend it's going through my mind as a stressful thing because I'm growing my photo booth business. I'm growing my social media content business. I'm only 33 years old, you guys. And I only really kind of started on this whole journey, I would say when I turned 30, of performing, of kind of going out on my own. By the time I was 31 or 32 is when I actually did go out on my own. And I'm only 33. So I'm feeling very young. I'm feeling very like positive about the fact that I'm not too late for anything. There's a lot of time for me to find success in all of the things that I'm finding success in or looking for success in. And so, but it is taking longer than maybe I had originally planned for. I think when I originally thought, I'm going to go and do my photo booth business full time, I felt like, 3 months, 5 months, I'll be set. And that's just not really the way that a lot of like businesses grow. I've worked in startups where, there's an idea and you go to an investor and then they give you $1 million and then you can put in ads and you can grow. And then you're not profitable. But that's okay because you're going to one day make the world a better place and you're going to take over the world and you're going to be the reason that everybody is healthier, all of that stuff. And that's just not what a one person kind of bootstrapping like company is in this moment for me. And so the photo booth business, while it is growing slow enough that I'm uncomfortable a lot of the time. And I'm wishing that I had more money. I'm wishing I had more success. And the thing is, like, I pretty much have full faith that in 3 years, the photo booth will be something that will give me like quite a bit of income. But I've realized it doesn't need to be something that I do full time, if that makes sense. The photo booth is happening on nights and weekends, and I probably spend a little bit of time every day kind of like going in, checking emails, preparing things, whatever. But I can totally have a job for 3 days a week and also do the photo booth. That's how I'm feeling in this moment. And if I am to get this job, like I can absolutely do the photo booth and the job. And then, you know, what I'm also really excited about from a Ben Hawes HQ perspective is the Ben Hawes HQ content services, because this is what I've identified as something that can be a lot more sustainable throughout the year, because the photo booth really does have to do with event season, you know, and it's something that gets really busy during the event season. And then maybe I have 1, 2, 3 events per month when it's slower. And that's, you know, that thing is that's okay, because I am a multi-hyphenate person. I am a hard worker. I am somebody who loves to try new things. I'm someone who loves to be in different boxes and be in different categories. And so the fact that I can, like, comedy can go and come and go. You know, comedy can be something that I do a lot when I'm less busy, and I do a little when I'm super busy with the photo booth or with work or whatever. And then the content services can be something that fills in the gaps in between. And so what I'm learning as a multi-hyphenate person, as somebody who is growing and building and climbing, those are my 3 words: growing, building, and climbing. I'm learning that year after year, I can get better and better. Year over year growth is good, obviously, but, like, it doesn't necessarily mean that everything has to be like that, you know? And patience is something that I'm finally learning in my life. I think that's really proven in the way that I've released a lot of my comedy stuff lately too. My ability to, like, say, hey, in 3 months, I'm going to have a single. I would never be able to do that in the past. I would be so impulsive. I would be like, hey, I am going to, like, put out this song that I wrote this morning. I'm going to just put it out, and it's going to be out, and whatever happens, happens. Now what I can do is I can plan ahead. I can say, okay, this is when I'll have time for this. This is when I'll collaborate with this person on making it happen. And then this is the marketing campaign. And then this is the release. And this is how I'll track it. That's a big difference for me as a creative. Now, as a professional, always, but, like, as a creative, maybe not. And so where I am now, as we kind of go into Thanksgiving week, which I want you to comment in this episode, whether you're on Spotify, YouTube, or whatever, comment something that you're grateful about, either about yourself or about your journey. I would love to hear from you, just kind of like, or just text me what you are personally grateful for about your journey or about yourself. Like, what's a quality you have that you're grateful you have? What's something that's happened in your journey that you're grateful for? I would love to just talk about that, because that's something that I'm really thinking about right now, is, like, my journey, my path, everything that I'm going over, everything that I'm going through has been, you know, not for a reason, but, like, has taught me something, and has gained me something, or has lost me something that has shown me something, or something like that. And so what I'm thinking about right now as a multi-hyphenate is that as we go into the end of the year, I have an option. The first option is I can go and ramp it up and say, by the time the new year starts, I'm going to fix everything, and I'm going to do an advertising campaign, and I'm going to write new blog posts, and I'm going to fix my SEO, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that, in order to, by the time January 1st comes, I'm going to be totally better. And that's one direction that I could take. And another direction that I could take is literally calming the F down. I really feel that that is the right direction for me to take. Of course, I'm going to keep making content, kind of stay at my steady pace, do all my holiday parties, which, of course, there are many at Rent My Booth, many holiday parties coming up in December. And so this is kind of my last week of, like, it's all freedom, but this is, like, my last week of, like, being able to just kind of relax and just kind of, like, be able to just kind of slow down. And this is what we talked about in my life coaching session. So today is actually Miley Cyrus's birthday. I don't know if you know that. November 23rd is Miley Cyrus's birthday, and she just turned 33, which is my exact same age, okay? And I have always felt a kinship with Miley Cyrus because we're both really creative. We both have a lot of, like, phases and, like, kind of chaotic ideas, and we both, like, really go big maximalist a lot of the time. And, you know, also, I will say sometimes we leave past versions of ourselves behind. And sometimes people like that and sometimes people don't. But if we're talking about Miley Cyrus, we're talking about the climb, because I have covered that song in some of my shows. I have always identified and loved that song. But here's the thing. I have never realized that when you are climbing, of course, you're on a journey. Of course, we know it's not the destination and it's the climb and it's the journey. What I haven't realized is that when you are climbing in life, when you're getting to where you're going, one thing you always do is take breaks and slow down and hydrate and work on, your protein and, clean up a little bit and kind of like put on some deodorant or whatever you're doing. When you're climbing Mount Everest, you do not climb the whole time. No, 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 you do not. You do not climb the whole time. And you have like oxygen masks sometimes. You are bundled up and, whatever you are, like you are not just a regular person going and climbing Mount Everest. I hope you know that. I hope you know that when you're climbing Mount Everest, you're not just a regular person going up. You're not just going up there. You are very prepared and you have often a guide. There's a lot of different like metaphors when it comes to the climb that I've realized only this week. And in life coaching, I told my life coach, Claire, I said, Claire, I need to define my version of success because I'm feeling very unsuccessful. And when I tell people that I feel unsuccessful, they're very like, what are you talking about? You're successful. Like, what are you talking about? Like, you literally are a successful person. But oftentimes they don't see what's like behind the scenes of Ben Hawes HQ. They don't see me struggling to pay bills or paying things in part or, things that I'm trying to get covered in a way that just kind of doesn't feel as easy or as comfortable as when I had a job. And they love me. So they want me to know that I'm successful. They want me to have the mindset of a successful person. But when I landed on Monday from my trip home, the thing is, when I'm home, I am seeing a lot of different people who have very different timelines than me, people who have very different milestones than me, very different lifestyles than me. And it just causes reflection, and I was also at a wedding and weddings cause reflection. And it just kind of makes you think, what am I doing with my life? Now, the thing that I'll add as a caveat here is I know that like other people might be thinking that about me as well. So like when I visit and I'm like, oh my God, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. I have a show at Stonewall. I'm doing that. You know what I mean? Like they might be like, oh my God, what did I do? I should have moved or I should have done something, whatever. So we're all comparing our lives to the lives of the people we love. And of course, we know that we don't need to do that and we shouldn't do that, but it's something that happens. And what matters is how we catch it and how we move forward with those feelings. So for me, I was like, I can't be having these feelings of feeling like I'm not successful because I know I am logically, but like I can't be thinking, oh, I'm not successful. Oh, everything I've ever tried has not been successful. Those are real feelings that I was having this week on Monday. So I went in and I booked a session with Claire. And one of the things we were talking about is this idea of the difference between success and security. Because one of the things that we really identified was that I'm already successful, because the biggest definition that people have of success, and this is my own definition as well, is like being able to spend your time how you want to spend your time. That to me is like the pinnacle, the tippy top, cherry on top of success. But the problem is that I am not feeling secure in my finances. I'm not feeling secure in my ability to do what I want financially. So like when I am going on a trip, I'm really having to save for a plane ticket. When I am going to dinners, I'm checking my bank account. Like that doesn't feel secure to me. And it also doesn't feel necessarily free to me. Freedom is very important, just like success, just like security. But success, it's almost like I have that, but I need the foundation of security before I can kind of feel happy. If there was like a triangle, that would be how I would kind of work on it. And for me, security doesn't have to mean that I live in a huge big mansion, that I'm jet setting everywhere, that I'm buying huge gifts for people. Honestly, security to me means my bills are paid. I'm out of any kind of weird debt. I can buy my nephew a present for Christmas, and I can go on like 2 trips a year. That to me is security. That to me, I would feel a really happy life if I was able to do that. Now, the next step up is obviously saving money, is obviously like putting money away, investing, property, things like that would be like way up there compared to where I am now. But like, I feel like I just right now need to get to that step, that base camp of getting to a place where I'm secure. And so that's where like the job comes in. That's where opportunities around my content creation services come in. That's where like the booth being busy comes in. And so where am I feeling right now? I feel like I'm in a good spot. after that life coaching session, because before I was feeling like I was in a very, very, very bad spot, and it was like total emergency mode. Like I had to book that life coaching session because I was just in total emergency mode with my mindset. And like really this idea of like security versus success really landed with me in a way that I felt like I should share. And I felt like I should be honest about just this whole idea that like, am I successful? Am I not? Like, I think the best answer that I got was from my friend Marno when I said like, hey, I'm really feeling unsuccessful. Some people were like, what are you talking about? You're successful. And some people, like Marno, were like, oh my God, I totally have felt that before. Do you see the difference? Because I am somebody, I don't know if this is how everybody wants somebody to react to this. I'm sure we're all different. But being able to relate and connect over the misery of not feeling successful was so much more helpful to me than people telling me that I was wrong for feeling that, or that I was just like off the mark. I think the bold way to go is to relate and to like commiserate a little bit, because you have to be like, yeah, I know that must suck, or yeah, like I have felt that way too, and I understand how you're feeling. Like I don't like the whole idea of manifesting, which is not the correct idea of manifesting in my opinion, where you just say something and you just slap me in the face by saying something and then I'm supposed to just believe it and that means it's going to happen. I don't believe in that one freaking bit. I do believe in having the mindset and stepping into the position of somebody who would be successful, or somebody who would achieve what they're trying to achieve. I do not, however, identify with just like saying it and putting the word in the universe and then that's that. I do believe in language and energy, but I don't think that only language and energy will do the trick. I do think that there is work involved in getting somewhere. So as I apply for this job, I've noticed it again. I say, you know, if I get this job, I'll be really excited because I can do this, I can do this, and I can do this. And someone's whole response will be like, when you get the job. When you get the job. And I'm like, yeah. And there's a whole chance I don't get the job. So I'm just I've become more of a realist than I thought. And I used to hate people who call themselves realist. Like, I don't like realist at all. But what I'm talking about is not negativity. And what you're talking about is not really real. You know, like, it's just not the way that it works that you can just say, like, when you get the job. Ha ha ha. You're going to get the job. Like, I think that it is important to have good language, but I don't think that it's necessary to like pretend that I'm definitely going to get a job when I know the statistics around getting jobs and I've lived the statistics around getting jobs. It's just not like, to me, it's just not as helpful as it is to think, oh, I'm going to work really hard to get this job because if I get this job, then this can happen and this can happen and it would open up this and I'm really excited about it. Like that to me is enough. I don't like being told when you get the job. I don't like it. I'm sorry, I don't like it because it feels like you're shutting me down. It feels like you said I did something wrong, and it feels like you said like, you're an idiot. You're an idiot because you should be saying when you get the job. It just doesn't land with me. So if I say I feel unsuccessful, it doesn't help me to have you or someone else say, but you are successful. And I mean, of course that is helpful a little bit, but like, sit with me a little bit, you know, hang out with me. It's like when people talk about like, you know, your wife gets home from work and she's like, and then this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened. And you're trying to fix everything as like the husband in this classic scenario. That's not what she wants. You know, she wants you to be like, oh my God, that sucks. She said that to you, you know, like that kind of stuff. Like, you don't want to be like, okay, so then what you should do is you should talk to your manager. Nobody wants that. But as I think about the rest of the year, here's what I want to talk about as it relates to life in bold. I think as we go into the remainder of the year, we need to have crazy levels of compassion for ourselves. I think we need to really be thinking about the ways we can take care of ourselves and the ways that we can like rejuvenate our energy for the start of a whole new year. And so what I'm proposing, what I'm saying is let's take the rest of the year to really focus on our boldness. And in this case, boldness can mean whatever it means to you. Boldness can mean resting, can mean kind of taking account of what you care about, taking account of what you want to do in 2026. Of course, taking all actions necessary to keep yourself afloat, but like you can kind of take that rest. Do you know what I mean? And then, you know, it can also mean going after and taking action. You know, it can mean like preparing, bullet pointed lists, goal setting, things like that. And it can also mean a combination of the two, you know, like just do what's comfortable for you and make sure that you are taking care of you, because as we go into 2026, we're definitely going to have to take a lot of action. As we're building our lives in bold, we're going to have to take a lot of action. Okay, everybody. And so I just want to make sure we're all being conscious, aware of what is going into the next month of the year. And with that, I will leave you. And thank you for listening to my life update part 2. Wish me luck on this job. I will get it. And I hope you have a great day, an even better week, and make sure to always live your life in bold.